Cei mai mulți dintre noi nu știu cum se trăiește în vreme de război, pentru că, din fericire, suntem în țări în care pacea chiar rezistă. De aceea nu putem judeca de pe margine. Alla Skoryk este jurnalist în Cernihov, unul dintre primele orașe ucrainene atacate de ruși atunci când au declanșat invazia totală asupra Ucrainei. A trăit alături de locuitorii din această urbe 3 luni sub asediu. Ne împărtășește imediat această experiență oribilă. Sunt Cristina Cileacu, începe Pașaport Diplomatic. Alla Skoryk, Editor-in-Chief, Chernihiv Regional Directorate, welcome to Diplomatic Passport.
Hello, glad to see you.
Alla, at the beginning of the war, your hometown, Chernihiv, was a central point for the Russian invasion. They had this plan to take over the city in order to go further through the city towards Kiev. The city was under siege for a few months. What is living under siege means?
Living under the siege means that you really can lose your life every moment. You need to think about food, water, electricity, and information. And what I could mention that information is as important as bread and water. Because it's hard to imagine. We just live like normal life with fuel and with some food, with some shops working. It's possible to buy medicines every time, every minute, no problem to do it. And when you live under the siege, that means that actually all your life is, you spend hours on the base ground actually, and you need to find some time to find food because shops do not work. Maybe several shops in the city, and you need to know, to get this information where you can take this food. Where you can take water, and to look for some electricity, to charge your mobile phone, to look through some information. And in this very point, it's impossible to understand whether Ukraine still exists, whether your president is still in Kiev, what is going on around your city, whether some local authorities are also in the city, or whether they are trying to do something or to change. Is it possible, for example, to evacuate from the city, and where to get food? People really need this information. And in this very case, media do not have possibility to give it in a normal way. Because also our group, our media, live in the condition without internet and electricity either.
And how do people get this information? Because, as you said, you are mostly stuck in a basement.
In this case, when people spend most of the day on the base ground, they can have several sources of information. Radio on the batteries, the best variant, and Telegram channels. Why Telegram channels but not sites? For people, when you have lack of internet, it's impossible to download pictures and videos. People couldn't watch YouTube. That's impossible to do under the siege. They can write small articles like sentences, brief information, without pictures, without not long reads, just small articles. And we just understood that in such case, it's impossible to have some TV broadcast. We decided just to stop it, and in the case anyway, we couldn't know whether Russian soldiers will come to the city and occupy our office. So we decided to just to take our equipment away somewhere, for them not to be in our studio, and not to organize some broadcast from Chernihiv, from our office. And we decided, we understood that radio program, we just should continue doing it as much as possible, as long as it is possible. We decided to have a Telegram channel, and we saw how popular it became.
And Alla, how is it to live in a city and the next day to find invaders walking in your hometown and simply wanting to take over all the power and all the citizens?
For example, if we speak about Kherson region, this city was occupied, and actually in the first day of occupation, Russian soldiers came to our media, Suspilne Kherson media. They are looking for people who can work with the equipment, for example, for engineers. They are trying to find some information about journalists, about editors, about people who used to work on the station in this media. And in Kherson region, we had also different situation when people were kidnapped. Nowadays, fortunately, all these people came back home, and we have information about them. But anyway, it was some kind of hunting, and we know why Russian soldiers try to do this. They need some people, local Ukrainians, to show their propaganda. Usually they just bring some team from Moscow or St. Petersburg, some other Russian cities, to organize all this propaganda work in the occupied city. But they need some people from local team to show that Ukrainians support somehow this invasion or something like that. That's why they try to find journalists, people who used to work in this media, to force them to work, to cooperate somehow.
We do remember that before Russia started their invasion over Ukraine, there were a lot of announcements coming from Western countries saying that it will start a war. Nobody knew the date, but this announcement was floating, let's say, all over Europe, not only over Ukraine. Did people of Ukraine know how to organize themselves in front of this possibility?
It was really hard to realize. Actually, my region, Chernihiv region, is very special. I mean, our nature is very special. For example, during the spring, we have like river flooding, and just to imagine such kind of invasion during flooding, during the spring, it was really hard just to understand. That's why. Personally, I couldn't understand that it can happen in my region, that they will also decide to come through Chernihiv region, understanding that we will have such kind of natural problem at spring. And actually, they faced this problem anyway, and they needed to go away at April. As we can see, they decided to go and to leave Chernihiv region. Maybe one of the reasons was also this nature reason. I'm not sure, but one of it. For people, they lived in some kind of scaredness, that's for sure. It was impossible to plan something, but to realize that this invasion could happen in such way, it was impossible for us. Anyway, people in Ukraine usually have a lot of food to eat, for example. It was not just special for this invasion. People, it's a trend, some kind of a trend. People usually have a lot of vegetables. They have a lot of different food they conserve, like liters of tomatoes, cabbages, and a lot of different things. And they also have meat usually, and some bacon, a lot of bacon. That's why it was possible to survive. But nowadays, when you're talking with people who lived under occupation, the first thing they said, we didn't have bread. for them it was just impossible. That they had a lot of food, a lot of vegetables, enough to survive. But for example, it was impossible to buy bread. And for people, it's one thing they can remember, and they will tell you a lot of stories how wonderful it was to have this first bread after the occupation and to smell and to have a small bite of bread.
Most of the Europeans, luckily, do not know what war really means, and I think it's a good thing. But on the other hand, people do comment in the sense that since not many of us experience war, we do not realize how come it could be a line front somewhere and people could be killed, and a few kilometers away there are coffee shops, there are open stores, and people do live their lives. Can you explain for Romanian audience how is it to live in such conditions?
You know, it's a good question. Yeah. I can explain you my personal feelings because I've experienced also these 2 years living in Chernihiv region, also near the front line and visiting front line from time to time. I just understand that every day can be the last, and it is quite normal. And every good moment when you can have a cup of tea and coffee somewhere in the park, when you have a possibility to speak with your friends and to have fun, you just want to have this moment to catch it and to enjoy this moment very much. And that's why what I can see in our people now, they experience a lot of different feelings, and fairness, and love, and support, different specters of different feelings, and they are very, very strong. Yes, for sure, in Chernihiv you can see, for example, some buildings that were ruined before because of this invasion, because of missile attacks and some other attacks. And the next building, you will see a restaurant and people are singing songs. And for example, a lot of women, they visit cosmetologists, they are doing a lot of different things, and they are wearing dresses. And you can see bright, very bright clothes and beautiful shoes, because everybody wants to be happy at this moment and to enjoy every moment of our life. I don't know why. This is very surprising for strangers, for people who come to Ukraine to see the life near the front line, but this is true.
It's already the year number 3 since Russia invaded Ukraine and started this horrible war. Do the Ukrainian people can continue fighting?
Yes, sure. The main problem is we understand how awful life can be under occupation, and we can compare and we can see even near the front line you can have some atmosphere of life and normality. It is not normal life, but some kind of freedom maybe. But under the occupation, I even can't imagine how people can live under occupation and their way of life. That's why we just understand that we have no other chance. Actually, we understand that in any case we will, for example, give our territory or some kind of local stop of the war. We understand that it means that in 1 year or 2 years we will have the same full-scale invasion. That's why we need to find some other variant to understand that this is the end. In this case, we will stop aggression, we will stop the war to continue our normal life. So in some other case, we're not sure that we will have really some safe place in our planet, in some other countries. We need to stop it somehow in Ukraine. Even in the front line, when you're speaking with soldiers, they are not so tired as people in other countries even. They understand that they have an enemy. He is right here in 10 meters, in 100 meters. Everything is quite clear and understandable. This is white and this is black. And they are not so tired. And for me, when I have some kind of small depression, when you need to find some energy to continue working, you need to go on the front line. To talk with soldiers, to communicate with them, to see how motivated are they. And this situation really helps me to be strong and to continue my work.
And how is this less good news of the Western help that is declining? How is this received in Ukraine? Because all of the Ukrainians realize they need the help from Europe, from United States in order to keep on fighting and to survive as a country.
I can remember my feelings when I lived under the siege and Russian planes were flying under Chernihiv and just a lot of bombs falling down and people died. And what we could see from Europe and the USA that we can't help with it. We can't protect your sky, actually. And this was also the moment, it was hard to understand and to listen to such kind of such words. We understand that anyway, we need to find some forces, some energy to continue fighting. We understand that in any case, Europeans and the USA, they will understand that it is necessary to be helpful and to support us in this very moment, because in the other case, the war will continue and a lot of people will survive. But we will fight actually with the guns, maybe with the knives, I don't know. But it's impossible to stop our fight. I hope that actually we can find some resources, and we just need to be together in this war. We need to be together in this war, and I hope that in any case we will get this support to stop the war.
Since you are an experienced journalist, we both know, myself from Romania and you from Ukraine, how Russia propaganda has specific narratives for each country in the region. After they started the war, and the war is continuing on Ukrainian territory, how do they change their propaganda, if they change it?
They usually use different types of propaganda near the front line, for example, to influence our soldiers, for example, or people who live near the front line. And in some other, for example, Western region, they have different types of propaganda connecting with mobilization and some other situations. They are quite creative and active. They try to find some new ways to influence people in Ukraine. And anyway, all these topics are very emotional. And for us as media, it's really hard to stop this propaganda, because all these topics are very emotional and very important to people. But we're trying to explain, we're trying to communicate with people. The biggest problem is somehow to cope with propaganda near the front line and near the border, because actually we do not have some sources of information to give people this information, and the other side of information, because actually on the occupied territories, the Russians usually use our radio waves, different sources, but people who live under occupation, they need to do some extra steps to get extra information about the situation in Ukraine. I mean, they need to have VPN to read Ukrainian Telegram channels and some sites. That's why we have a big problem to deal with it.
The final question, Alla, I want to address to you is about Romania, because we talked when we first met that before the war, Romania and Ukraine didn't have the best of their relationship. How do Ukrainians see now Romania?
You know, I have a couple of friends who went to Romania after the full-scale invasion. And they are so impressed about people who hosted them. And I also want to say thank you to everybody, to all Romanian people who hosted Ukrainians and helped them. During the trip, I know that a lot of you gave some food and paid for food in the restaurants. I know a lot of such situations, and you know, my friends were crying, retelling me these stories. Anyway, we understand that Romania will also have a lot of problems during the year. You will experience a lot of election campaign, and I understand that Russia propaganda also will touch you and somehow influence the behavior of people. I'd like to say you that Ukrainians are near you, side by side. We will support you in this case. We just wish you to be to feel that you are strong and you can survive and you can deal with it somehow. So I just only can say thank you for Romanians, and nowadays we really feel your support, and this is quite understandable. Even among some villagers, we can see that some villagers are also under support of Romanian authorities, and this is very important.
Atât pentru astăzi, dar rămânem în continuare online pe pagina de Facebook a emisiunii și pe contul nostru de X. Revenim cu subiecte noi din lumea diplomației și a politicii externe, vinerea viitoare de la 11:30 și reluare sâmbătă după miezul nopții. La revedere!